Hello everyone, Brett here. Today we are going to be taking a break from a tutorial and we are going to talk about something that's very important when playing guitar. So in another video that I did on a separate channel that I do in French, I spoke about how you might be wasting time when you're playing guitar because you're busy looking at both hands. And today I'm going to share with you a trick, something that can help you get over that. If you don't look at both hands, this is still something that you should be aware of. It's a technique that kind of develops itself naturally as you play guitar. In this video, I can give you some tips to develop this technique and to develop this skill, so it will give you a shortcut in your guitar learning. So if this is your first time here, I am Brett Vachel, and normally we do fingerstyle tutorials on this channel, so I normally show you how to play songs by Song Hajong. And today we are going to be taking a break from the tutorial and we're going to talk specifically about guitar technique. Now, some people call this proprioception, where your fingers are on the guitar without actually having to look at the guitar. As you are curling your fingers like this, the joints that are in your fingers when you're playing something are actually sending information to your central nervous system, and this is proprioception, without you having to actually physically look at where your fingers are. One of the things that I used to explain with guitar students is that you can do it by saying, just touching a part of your body, like the left ear or something, or your wrist or something like that. You touch that without looking at the body part. You know exactly how to touch it. The challenge I posted on TikTok was like this. It was to find a fret on the guitar and place my finger there without actually looking at the guitar. Now I'm kind of cheating because I can see myself in the camera, but it was something you want to take a commonly known fret, like the 7th or the 9th fret. The challenge is you choose the fret number, like say fret number 9, and then you put your finger there. You try to imagine the shape of the guitar in your head, and then you put your finger there, and then you pluck that note, and it should be the right fret number. Try this with a commonly used fret up here between the 5th and the, like, say 10th fret. I actually posted the fret challenge on my TikTok, which actually became kind of popular, and this is what inspired me to make the idea for this video. The first thing that you want to develop is to be able to do the shape of the chord that you want to do without having to look at your hand. So say this E shape, I'm pretty good with placing it on the guitar. It's just I might place it on the wrong strings. So you want to be able to have the exact placement of it and then be able to play that chord. Now I can feel the difference in the thickness of the strings with my fingertips, and that's going to be very important. Try to get used to feeling with your fingertip of your left hand which string you are on, based only on the thickness. Now these 4th, 5th, and 6th strings are wound, so you will be able to feel the wound strings with your fingertip of your left hand. That'll be important when we do the right hand later on. And of course, these bottom ones are the bottom 2 steel strings are not wound at all. And so the only way you can really distinguish them, also the fact that they are at the bottom of the guitar here. So this becomes important if when you're doing the cowboy chord challenge, if you're doing it up here, like the same chord between say E major and A minor, is only going to depend on how you can feel the thickness of the string with your middle finger, which is the top finger. G chord is easy, D chord is easy, you're close to the bottom of the guitar. But try it with between say E and A minor. Try to get these chords without looking at the guitar first. Make sure you stay all the way to the end of the video because I will share with you what I think the most important hand is to look at. Whether you should be looking at your left hand or your right hand, or if you shouldn't be looking at any hand at all. And of course, you can't look at both hands as you are playing because there's just too much information that's going to be happening. So you will have to sacrifice looking at one hand and only look at the other. Normally, guitarists only look at their left hand because the left hand has more of a distance to follow or more of a thing to cross. But if you have a certain technique that you need to practice in your right hand, you will have to be looking at your right hand as well. So we'll look at that in a second. Clearly, there are going to be some sections where you aren't going to be able to just only play cowboys. Even some songs that are moderately complex. If you're really trying to concentrate and not make any mistakes, you're going to have to look at one of your hands. So you look at your left hand, and without being able to look at the right hand, what I advise if you're very new to this is try to imagine what your right hand is doing as you are plucking, say, a chord, like here, or if I'm up here. So what I'm doing is, as I'm looking at where my fingers are placed here, I'm also imagining over here I can't see it, but I can see it out of the corner of my eye. I can't look at it, but I imagine what fingers are plucking which strings. Like, I imagine my thumb over here plucking the 5th string. I just imagined it in my head where they are. And obviously I have those other things I told you about, like the feeling of the thickness of the string and stuff like that to also help it out. But I try to imagine and visualize in my head what my right hand is doing. And then after that, it helps me decide where I'm going to be plucking the strings. Again, this develops over lots of practice of playing chords like this without looking at your right hand. It is something that you will have to develop in being able to play over, I guess, long periods of practice. But really avoid, if it's just simple block chords like this, avoid looking at the right hand and try to imagine what's happening with your right hand as you are playing along like this. Now we are going to be talking about the right hand, so we're going to see some right hand techniques that I use to be able to pluck certain strings without having to look at the right hand. As long as you have a neutral hand position that you can always come to like this, so where your hand is relaxed and your fingers fall on the correct strings, it doesn't really matter what you do. You can leave, go away and do some tapping, and then you come back, and after that you are going to know that you're in this neutral position, which is going to touch the 6th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. I find the right hand is slightly less of a problem with this challenge to decide which finger to pluck, because your hand can't really move over. As long as you designate the bass strings for your thumb, your index finger does the 3rd, your middle does the 2nd, and your ring does the 1st. As long as you practice doing this arpeggio pattern, which is plucking the 6th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings, and then passing over and doing 5th, 3rd, 2nd string, and 1st string. If you practice that over and over again without looking at the hand, you'll get a pretty good idea of where your thumb is going to be on these bass strings. Now, another thing you can do, and I teach this when I'm playing with the pick, is that you can feel with your thumb the strings that are just above it. So say if I'm plucking the 6th string with my thumb, there's nothing over here. So I know I'm plucking the 6th string because there's no other string that's below it. If you have a 7th string guitar, that's different. 6th string guitar, nothing there. Okay, my 5th string, I can feel with this part of my finger that there is a 5th string, the 6th string that's just above it. So I know now I'm on my 5th string. Physically, I can feel something. And then the 4th feels smaller and thinner and skinnier than the other strings, but you can also feel that there are 2 strings above it like this. Let's talk about percussion, because we are fingerstyle players and we need to do percussion as well. And what happens with percussion is that you deviate from your standard position because you need to hit some strings or go over here and hit some more strings. And the problem with the percussion is that you need to come back to your bass position once you're finished playing. And this is the problem that I see if you have something like, I don't know, like, obviously here I'm plucking and then I'm coming away from the guitar and doing a wrist slap like this. Okay, so what you need to do is have your bass relaxed position like this, easy to come to. What I mean, if I explain it, is that when I'm going to come to my arpeggio shape like this, I am so totally used to having my relaxed hand like this just land on the guitar at the correct strings over here on the 6th string like that I don't have to think about it as much. Tapping with both hands is going to be one of the exceptions where you're going to have to be looking at both hands. So something like that, where you have to tap across both things. And I think what you can do is keep your tapping hands close to each other so that all you have to do is glance between the two, and you're not doing like a huge head movement where you're watching both hands, because when you're tapping, your hands are going to be close. Or just keep one hand very simple where it only taps in one fret. If your other hand needs to tap and move all over the fretboard, you just tap only in one fret, say, while this one does other things. And then if they're both tapping, I don't know, keep your hands close together so you can watch them both and just have your eyes flip between the 2 fret numbers. I think that's my solution when it comes to tapping. So what do you think? If you want more help in learning these skills for playing fingerstyle guitar, check out my fingerstyle guitar course. It's called Play Fingerstyle Guitar Now, and I have lots of different exercises that you can use to develop your left and right hand independence without having to look at both hands. So I want to know, what are your techniques for not having to look at both hands? And how do you accelerate your guitar learning? Have you found that over the time period that you've been playing guitar, that you have to look less and less at the guitar hands as you play? It seems there's a general consensus that guitar players aren't very good at sight reading because they can't follow the music and play at the same time. And I believe one of the reasons for this perception is that guitarists are always looking at their hands when they play, so they are not able to practice and look at the sheet of music as they are playing. I think you have to develop both skills. So you have to develop a skill at being able to play while looking at the music. Obviously, it can't be something that's too complicated, but you have to have a certain level of skill, baseline skill, to be able to practice and look at something else. When you are learning something, I think that is important to look at the left hand and only the left hand, because this is the one that's going to be the most complicated and doing the most things. If you have to look at the right hand, only look at the right hand and practice what you need to do with the right hand. But generally, the right hand isn't doing things as complex as the left hand, which is why we look at the left hand. When you're looking at the left hand, try to imagine what your right hand is doing, and that should give you an edge so you won't have to actually physically look at the right hand. So that's all for the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you like these sort of videos, and I will do more of them. And I will see you in the next video.